Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I've got Starting Now. This is my new player's guide for players who are starting the game right now. This is October 2021. If you just started the game 2 days ago, 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, this is the guide for you. This is the video to watch. So buckle in. We're going to cover a lot of topics, and we're going to focus a lot on how to get a good start in this game. What is the best initial path for you to take? What are the best resources and characters to focus on? One thing I just want to say is that you may have seen a lot of older guides, whether it's on YouTube or infographics. There is a lot of bad old guides out there because this game changes rapidly. And so, unfortunately, guides become outdated quickly. You shouldn't follow any old advice. You really want to make sure you're following updated information, which is why I release these videos whenever there's a new patch to the game. The reason these old videos, old guides and so forth don't work as well as they used to is because of something called power creep. So the way that Scopely Boundless, the company that makes this game, works is they make the newer characters more valuable than the older characters generally. So when they release a new character, whatever new character comes to the game right now, the newest character that we've just been receiving is Silver Samurai. They make this character, generally speaking, better than the vast majority of the characters that came before, in order to get you to buy it. You've seen those offers that pop up in the game. If the best characters you got in the game were the ones you got for free early on, you'd have no incentive to buy these characters. So I'm sure you started this game thinking, okay, I want to build up my favorite character. It might be Spider-Man, might be Iron Man, or whatever. Unfortunately, some of those characters you get in the very beginning are not all that strong, even if they're your favorites from the comic books or the movies. So, but the good news is, if you take this knowledge to your advantage, this knowledge of power creep, you can focus on some of the newer characters, the characters that were released recently or were reworked recently. Sometimes they revamp some of the characters, and you can have a very easy time on the content in this game, because the campaigns that I'm sure if you started the game already that you're working on, these campaigns were balanced around the old characters when the game first came out. So if you use the newer characters and the reworked characters, you're going to have no problem getting through these campaigns very quickly. Now, one thing I want to make sure you also understand is that this is a resource management game. That is the kind of game this is. So you may be thinking to yourselves, well, there's all these characters, I want to collect them all. Well, this is not Pokemon, so you don't get any bonus necessarily from collecting every single character. Some of the characters are super important. Some of the newer hot characters that you could tell I've invested very heavily in. I put all this gear and gold and so forth and abilities into. You can see I've maxed out these characters. There's other characters I've left literally at level 1 because they're just not very valuable in the game at all. So you really, what you want to do is you want to focus the resources that you have, because no one has unlimited resources in this game. Even if you spent every dollar you had, I have a fortune, if you're the richest person on earth, there's limited resources even then. But most of us aren't doing that, of course. So there's even more limited resources. And what you want to do is use the limited resources you have in the most efficient way possible. That's how you get ahead in this game. So let's talk a little bit about which characters you want to invest in. So at the very start in the game, you are going to get some members of this team right here. This is the Wave 1 Avenger team. You're probably familiar with this team if you've watched any of the Marvel movies. And you will get Captain America and Thor very early on from some calendars that you get as a new player. You will also be getting Hulk shards for completing various achievements, and so he's pretty easy to get. These three will fall in your lap. You can generally, very early in the campaigns, you'll be able to farm Black Widow and Hawkeye, and that is a complete team. So a lot of newer players are going to focus on this team because they work well together. The way they work is that when any member of the team gets attacked, Thor gets charges that build up. When an enemy attacks an ally, he gets these charges, and then when he gets maximum charges, he attacks everyone for a lot of damage. Very easy way for very easy team to run, and a very easy way for you to get an advantage over opponents who don't have a synergized lineup, a lineup that doesn't work together well. This team is okay. It's not great. It's not one of the best teams in the game. It's not a team that's super important at the very end of the game. It will be useful at various times through your journey, so it's not a bad team to put some gear into. But you will be stronger if you can transition out of this team. So as soon as possible, what I'm going to want you to do, or suggest that you do, is transition out into some of the newer, more powerful characters. Now, if you started a few months back, you may have members of this team here, Infinity Watch. Infinity Watch is currently the most powerful team in the game, and a few months back, Phyla-Vell, Moon, and Moondragon were given away for free. If you what Scopely does is they give away some shards, not a lot, but some shards of the new characters for free each month. If you happen to be playing that month, you get those characters. So if you started the month where you got these characters for free, you can run the Gamora and Nebula, who are very easy to get. We'll talk about that in a minute. With these two characters, and you're good. Some of you may have started during a month where you got some Secret Avenger characters, okay? So if you can put these three characters together, there's a lot of newer players that have been running these three characters together with, let's say, Gamora and Nebula from the Infinity Watch. That can be a very strong team as well. Similarly, if you started last month, you will have been able to get characters from this team called the New Warriors. This is another 3-person team. These three characters combined with really any two strong characters, but Gamora and Nebula are a reasonable choice. Then that's a 5-person team that can do very well. Now you may say, well, hey, philosopher, first of all, where do I even get Gamora and Nebula? Well, they're not that hard to get. Gamora is a very easy character to get here in the Blitz store. You will end up you'll learn more about Blitz elsewhere. I don't want to cover that in this guide. That'll take too much time. But you can get her here in this store. This is pretty easy currency to get. Nebula is a character you also can get very easily. Early on in the Nexus campaign, you're able to farm Nebula. So let me try to find her here. I think there you go. She's Nexus 4-6. Okay, so not a hard. You can use any of your characters in Nexus campaign. So, and you can get her fairly early on when your characters have blue gear on them. Okay, so those are teams that for people who started in the past. What if you're starting this month? Okay, the problem this month is the team that you're going to get for free is this team called Weapon X. Now, this one character here, Omega Red, is a legendary character, so you're not going to get him at all for free. Okay, so that's one problem. And I will just say there are a whole slew of legendary characters in this game, and you may see some guides or advice out there telling you to focus on farming to get these legendary characters. That is very outdated, bad advice. These characters used to be very important in this game, but not anymore. Most of these characters are not the most important characters in the game anymore. Adam Warlock might be an exception. Maybe when Omega Red comes out, he'll be important. But for the most part, these are not the most important characters in the game. I wouldn't build your strategy around them. They're not all bad characters, but they're not, going all in to get the 30th or 40th or 50th best character in the game doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So let's go back here to Weapon X for a second. So you're not going to get this character. And unfortunately, this is a team that's mostly focused in war. It's a war team. These two characters you're going to get very easily. In fact, Wolverine is a character that you're going to get every day when you log in. You're going to get shards of Wolverine. He's actually one of the easiest, if not the easiest character in the game to obtain. So this character will be part of our strategy, but I don't think you're going to want to focus entirely on this team because war is not a game mode that's helpful for beginner players, and I just am not convinced that the team is going to be strong in all game modes. So what do I suggest for a starting team? Well, you could start with that Wave 1 team, and then get Gamora and Nebula built up. And then the team that I think is going to make the most sense for you, for, let's say, Arena, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is your kind of main team in this game will be something like Wolverine, Gamora and Nebula, who we already talked about, and then these two characters right here, and I will show you. We'll go to them. They're called X Factor. It's a mutant team, Longshot and Shatterstar. And the reason I suggest this is about this. There are new players that have been running this team and have had a lot of success. I've talked to a player who's running this in Arena and had some success with this team. And I think that this makes some sense to me because these two characters actually are legendary unlock characters, Longshot and Shatterstar. They'll eventually help you get Adam Warlock, who's the best legendary, at least right now. So they're characters you'll want to invest in anyway, and they're pretty good. They're not as good as some of those characters who looked at, the Infinity Watch characters and so forth, but they're very good, and they're easy to get out of stores. So you don't have to, it's not about farming from a node. So you can get Shatterstar here in the Arena store. You get Longshot here in the War store. Unfortunately, the issue here is that you need to get into an alliance to get war currency. And then, obviously, as you can see, he's not here right now. This is a store that you have to wait and see what pops up because there's too many characters for the 3 slots that they have available. So that is my recommendation for your main team. I do want to talk a little bit about the other characters you're going to get for free this month, and also what you're going to do for these campaigns. So, Heroes campaign, a lot of these characters we talked about are heroes. All the ones I just talked to you about are heroes. The Wave 1 are heroes. Gamora is a hero. The Longshot and Shatterstar are heroes. What do you do for the villains campaign? Well, my suggestion is, for the villains campaign, that you focus on getting out of the raid store a character named Baron Zemo. Okay, he is a Hydra character right here. You can buy him out of the raid store. Red Skull. Clicked on the wrong character. Baron Zemo. You can buy him out of the raid store. He's a very strong character, and he is a villain. There have not really been villains that have come out this year until this month. And you're not going to have them yet. So I think Baron Zemo is a good choice, and you compare him with members of the Sinister Six. Sinister Six is a team where there's actually more than 6 characters, as you could tell. The ones that I would recommend you get, and you can get them very easily, is Swarm and Electro. You would focus on those 2 characters, plus any 2 other characters, and you pair them with Zemo. And that team will not only get you through the villains campaign fairly well, not as well as some of those new heroes, because we haven't had really any heroes or any villains released this year until this month. So there aren't as many super OP new characters that are villains. But it will help you. You will get through the campaign fine. And then that team is also useful in Villains 7.1 to 7.3, which has some specific requirements. Okay. Now, you may be saying, okay, Flosser, I've got a villains team. I've got a heroes team. I see there's a Mystic campaign. What do I do about that? Well, the Mystic campaign, just a quick suggestion there, is that it is a very challenging campaign to get if you don't end up getting a character named Hela here. It can be a little bit of a challenge. If you're, some of you may end up getting from the Strike Pass. Here, you're going to get from the next month, either this month or next month, you'll be able to get Cloak and Dagger. If you can get that pair unlocked, that is a good choice. Some of you may wonder, well, I can't get both. I have to get either Cloak or Dagger. I think Dagger is easier for new players to use because she's a character that can be run in multiple teams, has abilities to help you in every game mode in multiple teams. Some of Cloak's best abilities are raid only. He's also a character that I think is a little bit trickier to use well, but I think he's frankly, in many ways, maybe a stronger character in the end game. I think they're both viable and reasonable choices. Cloak probably is a little bit, easy. I don't know. They're both. Cloak is good on his own, maybe a little bit better than Dagger can. There's elements to which he's better at lower stars, so that he may be a better choice as well. I think I can see arguments for both for a new player. So either of them would be a strong choice. Deathpool, if you ended up getting her from last month, is a strong choice. Otherwise, you have to use, and you're going to have to cobble it together in the Mystic campaign, assuming you don't have access to Silver Surfer, who's a challenging character to get. I would recommend, pairing together some of these characters. If you have Hela, she would be a very strong choice. Otherwise, unfortunately, you're going to have to use some of these characters like Ghost Rider and Mordo and so forth to get through those campaigns. Can be quite a challenge to get through the Mystic campaigns. You're going to have to muddle through with what you have until or unless they introduce better Mystic choices that you have access to. For a new player, some of these newer choices can be difficult. White Tiger is more accessible now, but still, I think for a very new player, it's going to take a little bit of time to unlock her. So what are you focused on? Well, a couple things. I mean, you may be tempted to focus on Arena, and I do think that is a worthwhile goal. That team that I mentioned to you earlier is a team that will help you in Arena early on. You also want to focus on raids, and we're running this Doom 2 raid, but you will want to join an alliance that is running Ultimus raids. And joining alliance, I would say, is a very important thing in this game. So I'm going to put below a link to my Discord, which has a channel that you can look for an alliance. I'm also going to place a link below to the official MSF Discord, which has way more channels for finding an alliance. And then I'll also place a link below for the Voltage Sauce Beginner Discord, which is a place for new players to come, not only to find an alliance, but to ask questions. So I recommend getting in a strong alliance early. That will help you run these Ultimus raids. That team that I mentioned for you can do fine in the Ultimus raids. That team that I suggested, that main team, will do fine in the Ultimus raid. So what you could do is start with Wave 1, then work on Gamora and Nebula and replace Black Widow and Hawkeye with them. So run Hulk, Thor, and Captain America with the two, Gamora and Nebula, and then work towards getting Longshot, Shatterstar, and Wolverine to go with Gamora and Nebula, which should work pretty well for you. You also are going to want to, then you're going to want to focus on what I think the most important game mode is, which is this one here, Dark Dimension. So why do I think Dark Dimension is such an important game mode and why this should be your initial goal? Well, I explained this more in a video that I put below called Path to Power, and I link it below. That should be the second video that you watch. It's some tiny parts of it are out of date, but the main concept of it explains to you the general strategy in this game. And the main strategy you want to do is you want to focus on, when you're level 70, getting 5 characters that are going to complete Dark Dimension 2 so you can get all of this orange gear for free. So you have, 3960 random orange pieces. Then 590, so it's like 10,000 pieces of orange gear for free. That's not easy to get when you're starting out in this game. Ultron, you also get him for free. You may know him from the movies. He was very strong when he's released, not quite as strong today. But he is a character you'll get at 7 stars by completing Dark Dimension 2, which will allow you to go back to complete Dark Dimension 1, which requires 6-star characters. He is a character that at 7 stars, you can run him with basically any group of 6-star characters and beat Dark Dimension 1. Then what you'll want to do is use these same characters you put orange gear on for Dark Dimension 2 and use them for Dark Dimension 3 and Dark Dimension 4 to efficiently use your gear. That's essentially what you want to do in this game, because each one of those dark dimensions gives you tons of orange gear. That will get you a boost into the game and a head start into the game. That's essentially what I recommend you do. And then you can use some of those same characters in the arena and in the raids. And that's essentially how you're going to get a fast start in this game, by focusing on the new characters. Usually I'm telling new players to focus on the characters that come out in that particular month. This month, I don't think that's a viable strategy for a variety of reasons, and that's why I've suggested the workaround that I did. Longshot and Shatterstar are very strong characters, and they blow through Dark Dimension, and they can help you with Gamora, Nebula, and Wolverine. Now, you may ask, well, what about some of the other new characters I'm getting? So one nice thing is you are going to get from the daily rewards, you do get Red Skull if you've been playing long enough. Okay, so if you've been playing since the beginning of the month, you're going to get Red Skull unlocked. You can use him with that. You can replace one of the Sinister Six members with him and use him alongside Zemo. That's totally viable. Or just run a Hydra team with Zemo. That's viable as well, although I think Sinister Six is probably more valuable using Electro and Swarm with the other two with Zemo. But I think he's nice to have unlocked. You're also going to get Carnage for free this month. He's a useful character, but he's not that hard for new players to get, so I'm a little disappointed. Last month they gave new players Hela, who I think was more useful for them. And then in addition to that, you are going to get out of this. So we already talked about the Strike Pass. You'll get Cloak or Dagger. Here out of this, here out of the Battle Pass, you're going to get this character, Emma Frost. She's a good, helpful, important character to get. If you are able to unlock her, then she would be somebody who you could throw onto your team, particularly for raids. But real-time arena doesn't unlock until you're later on in the game, and blitzing can be tough when you're early on, so you may not actually be able to unlock Emma Frost. Just do the best that you can here, and don't stress out about it. Focus on those new teams that I suggested. All right, hopefully that gets you a start. Head to my Discord if you have any questions. You can go to the Voltage Toss Beginner Discord as well, but we're friendly there. You really want to check out the various infographics, ask a lot of good questions. Make sure that you're not just relying on old guides or old advice, and make sure you have a plan, particularly a plan that involves using some of the newer, more powerful characters in this game.